Hello, my beautiful friends. It's another gaming sermon from your duly anointed prophet of the gaming gods themselves, even Miyamoto the Father, Kojima the Son, and Carmack the Holy Ghost, who appeared to me in prophetic vision, commanding me to create the one true video game podcast in the way in which I was told to do such things. Is to simply interview creative and interesting people about their favorite gaming memories growing up, and today, spoiler alert, no different, we have a creative and interesting person, and we're going to chat him about his favorite gaming memories growing up. Oh my goodness, it's like you couldn't have seen it coming. Today on the podcast, we have music producer and composer extraordinaire, Blakmoth. Yes, Blakmoth. I'll put all the applicable links in the podcast description, but he makes dope-ass music. He's been all over the map. He's done record labels, different genres, just about basically everything, but his Blakmoth project is ambient music, you know, like birds and trees and, I'm a hippie. I want to be one with the universe. I see everything is connected. Oh my God, you should try DMT. It made me so spiritual. He's not that shit. Most ambient music is bubbly and happy and peaceful. He felt there was enough peace in the world and we needed more darkness. So he makes ambient music, but instead of being ambient, he dubs the term doombient because it's dark, flames and fires, the wailing and gnashing of teeth, the suffering of souls. So if that piques your interest, check him out. Again, all the links are in the podcast description. Blakmoth, Instagram, Bandcamp, Spotify, Facebook, you name it. Check his shit out. He also dabbles in composing music for video games, movies, and TV. You can catch him doing sort of remixed new versions of soundtracks to different movies and video games online in various formats. And all around, I'm a big fan. I like his style. I like his aesthetic. Turns out he's a huge gamer nerd, and we had a fantastic conversation ranging from all the old classics, arguing about JRPGs and just talking video games and geek culture in general, and how that has all influenced him in his current artistic endeavors. Again, Blakmoth, Instagram, Facebook, Spotify, whatever. Check it out. Support him. Support the podcast, and ye shall be blessed. Make sure to share the good news of the gaming gospel, and the gods will rain down blessings from heaven in such great degree that ye shall not have enough room to receive them. I say these things in the name of Miyamoto the Father, Kojima the Son, and Carmack the Holy Ghost. Amen, and enjoy the show. What does that shirt say? Arrow?
Yeah, it's actually a Green Arrow shirt I got from. I used to be part of like Funko's DC box when they were doing it. So I've got like a whole lot of DC Funkos.
I don't want to admit how many video game related T-shirts or like T-shirts I have. Like, for example, there's this shirt that takes the NASA symbol, you know, like the blue globe with like the white thing in the spaceship.
Yeah.
But instead of saying NASA, it says Aaron for Samus Aran from Metroid. I like those kind of like sort of subtle ones. It's not like in your face, video games. But if you get it, you get it. If you see it.
Right.
I bought too many of those. It's like, it's just ridiculous at this point. So I saw that. I was like, I think that's a Green Arrow shirt. My boy might be a real nerd. I got the sense. So I've been stalking you since I came across Snakes of Russia and then his playlist. I found you through there.
Right.
I was intrigued by it's the first time I've heard the phrase doombient.
Yes.
Give us kind of like a spiel, quick who you are. I'll have an intro that I'll do and you know, make you sound super badass and shit. So the audience will have like somewhat of an idea of who you are, but give us an intro of who you are and where the term doombient came from.
Well, I'm Blakmoth. I make industrial ambient music, I call it, and that's where the term doombient came from, because it's very dark, dismal, you know, like doom music, doom metal. I used to listen to a lot of that. I still do. I don't know why I say I used to. I still do. And I took the concepts of that and applied it to ambient, because I was making ambient music for the longest, but in my heart of hearts, I knew that it needed some darkness. Everybody was making the same stuff. Like, it was like, why does ambient always have to be this like fruffy, filly, like plucks and just it's peaceful all the time? Like, let's do something different. So I was like, I'm going to come up with my own genre and just push that and see if it takes. And I've noticed the hashtag starting to pop up everywhere, so I'm like, here we go.
It's definitely like super music head music. You know what I mean? It's like, I think it's the right place to start because, I mean, ambient music in itself is a very niche style of music, and you get like, you're right, most of it is like peaceful, lots of tape stuff and like bubbling delays and reverbs, and it's awesome. I follow a lot of people, but I saw that type of music, but you are the only one that I'm aware of that's just like ambient but pure darkness. It's it'd be good. I mean, and another thing that popped out to me that I really liked when I started scrolling you and stalking you on Instagram, I liked that you were doing like mock movie scores, like you were redoing movie scores, and I'm like, dude, a YouTube channel of that, I would watch that all fucking day. If you like, you should keep doing that. I mean, if like your own versions of movie scores, I would rewatch all the movies. It would. I think that's like, you know how people on YouTube, they'll do like, the path they'll take is they'll do like super fire covers of famous songs. They'll switch the style up or something. They can't monetize the covers, but they get a name from covers, and then they can use that to start to put their own music. It helps them climb the ladder and get their word out. I think, I don't know if that's your style or not, but if you did a YouTube channel of like alternate movie scores, God, that would be badass. I don't know if maybe you're already doing it.
It's in the works. It's in the works. It's between that and doing like redoing game scores. So I got plans for both of that. That
too. In fact, I thought about that. I was like, ooh. And in fact, I was thinking I should steal that idea and do it for games, though, to help promote the podcast. I like all the content I create now, music and video. It's just trying to like promote the podcast. We both did we talked before this about doing record labels and being music and trying to make it in the music world. And props to you. That's a rough go. I mean, you might... Paying your bills doing music is like, if you can just pay your bills... Right, you're in the top 10%. Yeah. I mean, it's a rough go. So anyway, that's the idea I had. I'm like, I know I would be interested in alternate movie scores or game scores.
Yeah, that's kind of like the push right now for me, is getting into scoring. Like doing albums and stuff is great, and there's a little bit of trickle down of funds that you get from that, but it's nothing compared to the retirement check of syncing your music and getting into scoring, because you got the royalty checks coming in, and so I've been kind of trying to really squeeze my way back that way. Away from the album releases and stuff like that. I mean, I still do music because there's a passion for that, but the real passion is getting into scoring, whether it's for games or movies or both. So I can't think of a better way to break into the industry instead of like the old-fashioned ways, like who you know. Like, that's cool. It is important who you know, but if you just filled a YouTube channel up of fucking badass alternate soundtracks, you're gonna get work. Right. You know what I mean? It will happen. If like, and I know as a fan, I was like, that's some of my favorite content. Like, I'm thinking of one post in particular. I forgot what the movie was. It was pretty recent. Like, what's the most recent time you posted something like that? Let's see. I know I did like a one for Blade Runner.
That's it. It was Blade Runner. Yeah.
And then I think right before that or after that, I redid. It was Akira. So,
I need to go back and watch that. I must have missed that one. Yeah, Blade Runner had some. How did you feel about the Blade Runner 2049 soundtrack?
I liked it. I enjoyed it. It was very subtle. It wasn't like really heavy and stuff. So it was kind of like, but there was those moments where you needed it. And that's why I kind of got inspired to do that. I was like, man, you know what? What if I amped this up a little bit? What if I hyped it up a little bit more? Give it some more, tension, Yeah. I think it was the idea behind that was to not overpower the film with the music, so that way the dialogue and the scene that's going on was more prominent than the music, because I noticed the music was it's just literally background,
Yes, yeah.
So I was like, you know what, let's intensify this just a little bit. Let's make the music more what's telling the story than the scene. So
what's for your Akira? How many minutes of the total playtime did you do for Akira?
It was actually just the scene where Canada was actually fighting with Akira in the stadium.
Oh, like the ending. Okay.
Yeah, the end. Yeah.
Nice. I went and saw that when they did like the re-release in theaters, the 4K version. I went and saw it in theaters. Nice. I was the only person in the theater, but it was magical. I got like stoned beyond belief, like borderline just like, I'm going to have a panic attack. Perfect. That's right where I'm going to need to be. And I sat just like alone in the middle of that. And then my friend ended up coming. It was just me and my homie. Nice. And he had never seen, he's like into anime, but he had just never seen Akira. Like, he knew it was this groundbreaking foundational anime. I honestly don't know. I was like, wait, you've never seen it?
That's
like,
crazy.
You're my anime friend. Like, you're the kid I ask for anime advice, and Akira's like foundational.
Right. You get it.
Yeah. Anyway,
it should be the first thing you see.
yeah, and it was cool to watch it and see it for the first time as an anime fan. It was
the first one for me, I think, and then right after that it was Vampire Hunter D. Then it was just the domino effect from that point on. It just kept going and going. I was like, oh, this is the way right here.
This is the way. Yeah, dude, the holy trifecta for me was Akira, Vampire Hunter D, and Ninja Scroll. Those were the first three that I think Ninja Scroll is actually the first one I saw. Mm-hmm. And I've told this story on the podcast before, but it's like just a quick, like, my dad came down. I was renting it at Blockbuster, and I'm like, this is a cartoon with ninjas. Looks dope as shit. It's like, yeah, right. Rent it, whatever. He like comes downstairs, and I'm watching it. We have like this little TV downstairs, and it's like right in the scene where the stone dude is like ripping the girl's top off and sucking on her boobs. And I'm like 7 or 8, right? And my dad's, what the fuck is this shit? I'm like, I didn't know, Dad. I swear I didn't know. But this is dope.
It's so crazy. It's like you look at it, you think, oh, it's a cartoon. Okay, it's gonna be cool. And it's just like, whoa, this is beyond cartoon.
Yeah,
I think it's just crazy the amount of energy and effort they put into it. It's like no matter how big or small the production is, or what the show's about, or anything, it's always like this theatrical performance. Like there's so much energy and effort put into anime. It's just great.
And from what I understand recently, like just some media is that like the working in anime kind of sucks apparently. Like they don't make good money, and
that's crazy. Like, and see, that makes it even more like classic, because it's like you're putting in all that effort to know you're not going to get like that big huge return for it, but you're still putting it in. You know,
that's kind of like doing music,
right? Just the respect for quality. Yeah, same. Yeah, it is the same as music.
You might get lucky, and you can maybe build a fan base over time, but like if you want the big money, you gotta something more than just. That's an interesting conundrum. It's that does what make like what you do. I want people to go check it out. I think the internet has made more niche musical styles grow over time. Yeah. Like I run into people who I don't view as a music head, and sometimes they pull out some really obscure thing they've gotten into and surprise me, and I'm like, damn, you went down this rabbit hole? Like, oh yeah, right? And I have been preaching like the gospel of Lorne since I discovered him.
Oh yeah.
And you, in my mind, you fall in like kind of that same umbrella, which is like this like it doesn't have to be club heavy to be dark and dope. You know what I mean? Yeah. It doesn't have to be like rock and roll, heavy screaming, head banging mosh pit. It can be heavy and dope and ambient at the same time, and atmosphere.
Yeah, that took a lot of, like I said, it took a lot from like doom music. I wanted to make sure that like without the vocals, I still portrayed that emotive of, you know, this is that dark sadness that, you know, but it's still ambient. So it's meditative, but then it like puts you in this just uncomfortable space, you know, and I try to blend both. So there's like that main hint of ambient that's still nice, but then all of a sudden these dark synths come in and you're like, wait, what? You just switched. I don't know how to feel right now. You know?
Yeah. What's your favorite video game soundtrack?
As of right now, I am really enjoying the soundtrack of Control.
Yes! Bro, I have been hyping Control. People are sleeping on that game as a whole.
Yeah.
They're sleeping on that game.
That game is amazing. You know, and I played Quantum Break, and I was like, this is amazing. And then when they said they had another game coming out, I was like, okay, wait a minute. You know, I have to check this out. And it just blew that out of the water. I was like, what? This is phenomenal.
Bro, it's got some issues. I played it first initially on the PS4 on a Pro, and there was some technical frame rate and slowdown. There's some issues, but it's like they went somewhere so fresh, which kind of goes into what we're talking about music. Like they took, first off, paranormal stuff outside of horror games and video games doesn't really happen.
Right.
Like if it's paranormal, it's going to be a horror game. This is an action game. It's action sci-fi, but it's paranormal and dark, and the music's all dark, but it's not horror. right? It's just, I don't know how to explain it. And that, dude, the levitating
it's very
ability.
psychological.
Yeah, it's very psychological, and it plays with like, yes, paranormal and this middle ground, like trying to explain paranormal with sci-fi, but it's also just an action game, and you have fucking cool superpowers. God, that game is so
when
good.
I started flying, I was like, "Oh, this is amazing."
And then the lore. Are you getting into the lore and reading all the notes?
Yeah, I've been collecting them and then slowly going back and sitting down and reading through stuff. I'm one of those people. I sit through the lore and read it. I play Destiny, and as soon as I get a lore piece, I'm like, "Oh, time to go read it." So,
Yep, that's how I played Control. I didn't wait. As soon as I found it, I read it, the whole thing, no matter what.
Right.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. God, I'm so glad because I've just been telling people, and like people are like, I don't know. I'm like, you guys don't get it.
All right, you gotta experience and to get it.
Yeah, it's so good. Now, also, have you beaten it?
I beat the main story. Well, I got into the point of technically beating it, so I'm in the in-game part of it where I'm now, the director officially.
Yes.
So that's where I got, and that was where I stopped. I hadn't gone back yet. So
I will say the ending is a little anticlimactic. I was kind of like, okay, it's cool, but it's like obviously there's got to be a sequel or something to kind of flesh the DLCs. There's the AWE DLC and then two other ones. The two other ones are decent, but the AWE DLC, I don't know how much if you've been spoiled, but
no, I picked them up. I haven't played them yet. But,
okay, yeah. Are you a fan of Alan Wake?
Yeah,
you should play the DLC.
Okay,
AWE. You should do that. Like. As soon as possible. And there's also like super cool gear and shit that you get in the DLC that you can't get. But yeah, that game is so good.
Yeah. Like the moment I heard I was like playing and like the music started playing and I was like, wait, hold up. So I just stopped in the middle of the game, just started listening, and I went to iTunes immediately and was like, "Yep, got to get this soundtrack and listen to this."
Yep. There's when you get to the first, it's like early boss fight. What's like the first floater dude? It's kind of like by the mailroom, I think.
Yeah, it's in the mailroom. Yeah.
Yeah, the mailroom. There's a kind of just like a background. That area's sort of backing track. I forget what it's called, but I'm sure it's on your soundtrack. I would just load up a save and just have that running in the background when I was like doing chores and shit, just to have that background music. Yeah, it's good. It's good.
Yeah.
So what got you? It sounds like you've always been in it. So I step back. When I was stalking you, I forgot what posts, but you mentioned a few things about video games, and I got the impression, now I'm pretty sure because of the anime t-shirt, I think you've been into gaming for a hot minute. Like you're an OG.
Oh yeah. The games have been always a part of life. There's always I think I've owned every console except for like the newer PlayStations. Me and Sony had a falling out, so I haven't gone back to Sony for a while. So, but
when did you fall out from Sony? When
it was PlayStation 2. I
really
I worked at GameStop and
I did too.
I kind of poked fun at the Sony rep. And the response I got made me kind of like off-putting going on Sony, because I was like, hey man, like I got a question for you. I was like, see over there on this wall, those are the refurb and send back Xboxes. There's not very many of them. And like over here we have the GameCubes. There's like 2. These things are invincible. But why do we have this big, huge wall of PlayStation 2s? Like, what's going on here? And he was like, I was like, do you guys have any plans on fixing the issue? Because I was telling at the time everybody was having the same problem, and it was like, why isn't Sony, working on fixing the system or doing an update or something? And I was like, why haven't you guys fixed this yet? Why we keep getting these returns? And he's like, because it's such a good product, people are just going to keep buying it no matter what. So why should we fix it? They're going to buy another one anyway. And I was like, oh, I won't be buying another one then. Like,
damn, that's pretty cold.
Yeah,
that's pretty cold.
I was like, man, they're very corporate. They're dead serious on this stuff. So I was like, yeah, nah. So I've just been Xbox and Nintendo since then.
That's too bad, because as corporate as they may be, Sony's they got some fucking IPs.
Sometimes I see some stuff and I'm like,
bro, whatever. Look, I won't tell anybody, but you should borrow a PS4 and play God of War. You need to do that.
There's one in the house somewhere. There's one. It doesn't belong to me because it's in the house somewhere.
Have you played Last of Us?
No, that's one I do want to play though. Like I've seen a lot, and I'm like, man, I have to get my hands on this and experience it at the least. You know,
that is a dark, gritty game.
Push my negativities aside and enjoy something for. You know?
Look, I don't look. You can still rage against Sony and enjoy a couple games. I think it's okay. I think it's okay.
But like, play the game, and then when it's done, I'm just like, you're still some trash.
Yeah. Burn it. Make a statement. What year were you born, if you don't mind me asking?
1980.
80. Okay, so you're a little bit. Was your first console a 2600?
Yeah.
Boom. Nice. What do you remember from the 2600?
Man, I remember playing Joust. I remember the Spider-Man game. That game was crazy. The Superman game. I had a lot of stuff. I had a lot of games. Let's see. Oh, that haunted house game. That was weird. We're just it was so simple how like a lot of these games were, but they were like so hard. I remember that game being so hard, and it's just some like weird mazes with these little blots moving around that are supposed to be ghosts. Like what? But yeah, what else did I play? Oh, tanks. That was always fun. Just shooting little pixels at things. It's weird to look back and like all the old classic games that is as simple as they are. I think they were way harder and more just more like in depth than anything that's out now. And it's like, but it was nothing. it was like you're just pushing some dots around. It was like I would get so mad and rage about the littlest things. Like, why is it so hard? But yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, those older games, because they were so simplified, it's like they were reduced down to just like what is the core mechanic,
right.
And is it fun? Mm-hmm. Okay, and then we also, because we have like one tiny byte, whatever the memory was back then.
Right.
It's like 1 megabyte of whatever. And we want people to play this for like 6 months. So we're just going to make it insanely hard.
I think it trickled into like all the other systems too, like Nintendo. There was just stuff that's just like, I can like look at it now and I'm like, oh, I'm about to pick up this Nintendo. Like we have one in the house and I'll go grab something and I'll put it in and I'll start to play. And I'm like, why is this so hard? Like I sit here and I play like Call of Duty and all this other stuff and it's like I got 800 more buttons and it's all easy. Then I go hop on Mario and I'm like, why do I keep dying? I should be able to smash this.
Yeah, the difficulty is it's a real thing. Like I mean, some modern games bring that back in. Like the Dark Souls series is known for being brutal and like in lots of trial and error in order to figure out. But that's what it was back in the day. It was like I remember Ninja Gaiden being a rough one.
Oh,
on
that
NES.
was
so rough.
I think that's the original Dark Souls for me. That game, I don't think I really got far ever. That game, I just kept dying so much. I was like, I just give up. I'm done. I can't. This is crazy.
Yeah, it was, and it's like you get a certain length, and then you die, and you have to start all the way over again, and it's just trial and error. So the farther you get, like the higher risk this scenario gets, because you've got to replay the whole game all the way to that point to get a new rep in, get a new trial and error cycle in. And so, like, in the beginning, you progress pretty quick because you can play the first level really quick on it. You can memorize it.
Right.
But it's like you get to the 5th level, and you get to, I'm on the 5th level, and I'm halfway through. This is uncharted territory for me. And I have like 1 life and half my life left. And like the pressure, because if you die, you got to play that whole fucking game all the way to get back to this, just to figure out if you can not die in the same spot again.
Right.
And it's brutal.
Like that? Shinobi.
Yes, Shinobi. I played some Shinobi too.
Man.
Shinobi was you had a Genesis. Well, you said you had every console.
I've had everything. I've even had a Dreamcast.
Ooh, did you have Saturn?
Yeah.
Wow, you are the first guest, I believe, that actually
like every
had a
time
Saturn.
something came up, I got it. I was like, oh, I'm getting that. Oh, I'm getting that. I think the only thing I haven't owned is a TurboGrapx 16. I never jumped on that. But
what about a
else,
Virtual Boy?
Yep.
Really? Damn. I thought I was going to get you with that one. Damn it. That's
I've had
legit.
all incarnations of Game Boy, everything. I still have my Dreamcast, which is really cool because like once I discovered that it was Windows based, I was like, wait, I can just like make all my games and have them all the time. That's just cool. I do give a nod to Microsoft in their craftiness on that one. They're like, hey, Sega, we got your back. We're going to make you a console. It's going to be nice. Then they make it, and then they're like, this is really cool. You know what? We're going to call it the Xbox. Like, 'cause I was like looking at the controller. I was like, when the Xbox came out, I looked at the controller and then I looked over at my Dreamcast and I was like, this is the same thing. They just made it black and called it an Xbox. That's mean.
So are you saying that like initially Microsoft helped develop the Dreamcast for Sega, or that they just copied the Dreamcast controller with the Xbox?
I don't know. It's a fishy situation.
Oh,
it sounds kind of like the Microsoft / Apple situation where, hey, we were working together and we saw the potential in this, and so we decided to go our own way with it.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't know that. I mean, I actually had not thought about that, but the moment you brought them, like, that is true, because that original Xbox controller was pretty big and similarly shaped to the Dreamcast controller.
The ports on the front of the Dreamcast and the way the ports are on the front of the Xbox and the way the controller hooks up is exactly the same. Yeah, I was like, interesting. At first, I didn't notice it. Then took me a couple of years. I was looking at my Dreamcast and I was like, wait a minute, they're very similar. It's like, huh. And it was around the same time, like as the Dreamcast started to fade off, it was around the same time that the Xbox got announced. So I was like, oh, okay. I mean, hey, to each their own.
That's a good conspiracy theory. I like conspiracy. I might have to look into that. That one's sexy. Like, I like conspiracy theories are awesome because most of the time they're bullshit, but every once in a while they're real. And so it's like gambling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's like a slot machine. Like, ooh, this one sounds cool.
I love
might
my
be
conspiracy
real.
theories. Conspiracy theories are great. I said I like my conspiracy theories. My cryptids. Conspiracy theories. It works in gaming because you have that thought process of you're playing the game and you just automatically come up with theories like, what's going to happen next? Oh, I see this guy. I think he's going to be this. And then as you play and things unfold, it's always great to be right because you're just like, oh yeah, I knew it.
I knew it. I called it. Yeah. What's your favorite like narrative? You've had all the consoles and most of the games. What's the best story?
The best story for me is the story of James Sunderland in Silent Hill 2.
Ooh! For a man who hates the PlayStation 2, he's repping a legendary PS2 game.
I have to admit, that game, you know, it's weird, it's funny, like I really didn't get into a lot of scary games. I mean, I played Resident Evil, I played them all, and they were scary, but not really. And then Silent Hill came out, and I grabbed that. And I'm telling you right now, I'm going to be honest, for as dark and dismal as my music is and my persona is, I put that disc in. I turned that game on, and within the first, maybe 10 seconds of gameplay and stuff I paused it, and I was like, do I even want to play this? I don't think I want to go here. Yep. And I never did. I actually took the game back and got a return. I actually ended up playing it like 2 or 3 years later because I was just like, nah. I was like, I can't do it. But I did play through Silent Hill 2. And Silent Hill 2 was very psychological. It was very, Kojima is like a genius as far as I'm concerned. Because all his stuff is just this deep narrative that you have to really sit down and try and figure out what's going on. And then when you think you've got it, when you think oh, this is it, I know what's going on, it totally confuses you and you're like, wait, what? And then even that still isn't the answer. You're still left, you're done with the game and you're still left going, what was that all about? It's crazy. Crazy, but that story was awesome. I still don't understand. For the longest time, I was like, "Is James in hell? Did he kill his wife? What's going on?"
I interpreted it as he definitely killed his wife, and he's coming to terms with it.
I think he got struggle. He couldn't deal with the struggle anymore, the depression and dealing with it, and he's being, and the characters, the enemies represent that. The nurses represent the hospital. The Pyramid Head represented somebody that was punishing him, for what he did. But actually, at the same time, which was cool, is even though the Pyramid Head was punishing him, he was also guiding him through Silent Hill. He was pushing him forward through the story or through his journey there, so he can figure out why he needed to be punished. So I thought that was really cool. And then I noticed at the end, I picked that up at the end too when he finally came to terms with what happened. And then the Pyramid Head killed himself because he was no longer necessary because that was his role, was to get him to see what he had done. And his ultimate punishment was realizing that. So I was like, that's really cool. That's why it's my favorite game story. That's the narrative right there.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah. If you haven't played it, there you go. Now you know.
There you go. It's dope. It's still worth it.
You should have played it. No, I'm just joking.
That game, I'm glad you brought that up. I think you're the only person that has brought that up for specifically for story, and definitely maybe the only person who's brought it up. It's a back to sound. I don't know if you remember this, but it was one of the first games, and it wasn't Dolby, but it was called EAS, and it was like some sort of kind of like binaural stuff with headphones. They had some sort of technique where they could make things. It's not as convincing as real surround sound now. But it was better than regular stereo back in the day. And
I tell you what, you say that, and I agree, but at the same time, there were numerous times where I would be wearing a headset, and I'd be playing that game.
Turn around.
And I'd turn around like, what the hell was that?
What the fuck? Yes. Yes. That's what I was gonna like. There's a few times that game freaked me out. Like I knew because that was part of the marketing for that game. It's like this like at the time cutting edge sound technique to make things sound 3D, even though they're just
and they
in
took
stereo.
Advantage of that really well.
Yeah,
like there was like in the prison, like you heard all these sounds. Like I felt so many times that like Pyramid Head was behind me because they made sure the sounds were there like that. Like you'd hear the footsteps behind you, and you turn around in the game, and there's like nothing there, and then you hear them somewhere else, and you're like, oh crap. And so you like stayed like you could go through a whole entire level and not face a single enemy, but you'd be on the edge of your seat, tensed up and terrified that something was going to pop out on you just because of the sounds and how they were like, it was surround like that. It was so cool. But he's like always cool doing cool stuff like that. Like I remember in Metal Gear with Psycho Mantis, I struggle. I have to admit, I struggled so hard with Psycho Mantis. You don't know how many times I reset my PlayStation or thought something was wrong with it, and then I finally realized, like, oh, the game's doing that. Okay. Yeah. Well played. Well played.
Yeah, I don't know if you had any, at the time you played it, if you had any Konami games saved on your memory card. Psycho Mantis would also talk to you about the games you've been playing.
Yeah, I heard about that. I didn't at the time, but yeah, I heard about that. That's cool.
That fucked me up. Like, my brain, it freaked me out because I came from like a hyper religious background, and I had like some legit superstition about like spirits and. I had at the time like super superstitious, and my parents were very like against games in general and adult-ish games, and I already like at the time felt like I was doing something bad by playing Metal Gear, and like superstition of like the devil punishing me and shit.
Oh, no.
And when Psycho Mantis started talking to me, I was way into JRPGs about Suikoden. And like reading off details on my save file. Oh, that's what was happening. I didn't know that was happening.
Right.
Bro, I thought I had lost my soul. Like I thought, like I had invited a demon into I was gonna get possessed, and it was going down. I was freaked out.
Yeah, I got so mad when I thought that my game froze because I was like, man, this boss is hard. And then it froze, and I was like, are you kidding me? Like, so I reset my PlayStation and everything, and then I was like, wait, okay, I'm back in the boss fight again, okay. And then it did something different. I was like, what's going on? That was just great. That's just like, I'm telling every time, like I look forward to his games all the time because there's always some kind of cool element like that.
Did you like Death Stranding?
I haven't played it yet, and I want to. I'm gonna have to just do it. You're talking me into it, and I'm gonna have to give it up, and just grab one.
I don't know about that one. That's the only Kojima game I haven't played. I think. I haven't played Police Knots, which is like an old kind of like visual novel, but other than that, I've played all of them, and I'm torn. Like, it doesn't look interesting to me when I watch videos.
It's interesting because there's a theory going around, a conspiracy theory.
Yes, you had me.
It's the secret release, and not titled as such, of Silent Hill. It has something to do with Silent Hill. It's actually, remember when they talked about Silent Hills, and it was like the PT game had come out and all that?
Yes, yeah.
They had talked about there was another one that was going to be released, but it wouldn't be released under that name, and it would be the next game. There's all this like conspiracy where he keeps leaving these hints everywhere, and apparently, if I remember correctly, Reedus was supposed to play the main protagonist in the new Silent Hill. Yes, and then all of a sudden, Death Stranding came out, and he was the main protagonist. Yes. So there's a theory that it's actually Silent Hill. It's part of the series.
It's part of the shared universe, I guess, of Silent Hill. Interesting. Yeah. I need to go look. I need to read more into that. But I think Konami recently announced they are going to do a new Silent Hill game. Damn it. Konami new Silent Hill. Konami says go easy. Oh, that was a rumor. They're denying the rumor. It was that's right. The composer of Silent Hill 2 said something that made people think there's like a new Silent Hill.
Oh, you know what I think happened? It's Medium. because Akira Yamamoto he did the soundtrack for Medium. So he probably was talking about that while it was in production. He couldn't talk about it, so everybody assumed probably that. Is it a new Silent Hill? So
that's what
because it has a very similar theme where it's going from into different realms back and forth, like how Silent Hill works, and then so now you also have Akira Yamamoto doing the soundtrack. So it's like, wait, is that Silent Hill? So, but yeah, I have to play that still. I need to get I haven't got a Series X yet, so I need to get on that whenever they restock and the bots don't steal it from me first. Yeah. I've tried 4 times and their bots are ruthless.
Yes, dude, it's the bots, everything. I want a new graphics card. I want a PS5 and they're impossible. It's impossible. What I was going to say about the Medium, I have Games Pass, do you have Games Pass, by the way?
Yep, sure do.
It's the fucking shit. The only problem is Games Pass, when I downloaded the Medium, Games Pass is buggy on PC, at least for me, and it just crashes on launch every time I launch it. And I was so excited. I'm like, so I uninstalled it. I'm just going to wait for a couple of patches to come out and try it again. But I want to play that game because of the composer. And it's just, it looks like a spiritual successor to Silent Hill.
Yeah.
It looks dope. Yeah,
both of my favorite game composers are on that. I love everything that comes from Blooper, man. Blooper is just, they make some good games. Both of the Layers of Fear. Those games are great. Observer.
I haven't played any of those.
Observer was amazing.
I have played Observer. Yeah.
I was like, man, that's another one that has that would be up there for narratives for me. Because it was unexpected, it's like, it's this little, cyberpunk horror thing, and it seemed deep as I played it, but I didn't think it was going to go that deep, and it was just like, wow, that's really good. At the end of the day, I was like, man, this is great.
I haven't played this one. I was confusing it with, there's another one where you copy yourself at the end of the game. That's not Observer, right? You wake up, there's another game that's like a sci-fi first-person type of horror survival where it's you are the discarded body of someone who had copied their consciousness to the cloud, and you don't find out till the end of the game that you're just the leftovers.
Wow. No, I don't. That's
not Observer.
There's a similar thing in there, but it's not. No, that's not Observer. Because Observer, you're a detective, and you're trying to find your son. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna play this. This looks dope. I've never even heard of this.
Oh,
this is
you gotta play that.
This looks
great.
good.
They just came out with an update version called Redux, so it should be. It's with some new levels and the graphics are enhanced. But is
it like story or is it like a first person shooter?
It's a story. It's kind of like Have you played any of the Layers of Fear games?
I have not.
But it's kind of like how PT and all those games are, where it's just a first person, you're exploring and you're enhanced. So you're a detective and you're solving different murders and crime scenes, but at the same time you're looking for your son. There was an incident that happened, back in the day called the nanophage, and so that's a disease that's going around that's causing augmented people to malfunction, and they go on these murder sprees and things like that. And so you investigate that stuff, and you're augmented. So the way you solve murders or solve different crimes is you actually can jack into the victims and see their last moments and look for clues and stuff like that. It's really cool. And then there's just this big, deep conspiracy going on also within the game that you're unfolding, and you started out in a hotel or something like that, and so you're going around, knocking on doors and asking people information and stuff. And the more you discover as far as clues, the more the story moves forward. It's really good.
I'm pulling it up on Steam. I gotta get this. That sounds like everything I like in a video game.
Yeah,
sci-fi, cool lore. I like lore. I'm kind of a lore nerd.
Oh yeah.
You mentioned that with Destiny. I'm like that. Did you ever play Mass Effect?
The only one I played was Andromeda. I haven't played the old ones. I need to go back and play them because I do have them. I just haven't got deep into them yet.
People hate on Andromeda, and the story-wise, it sucks all the dick. But the gameplay in Andromeda, the battle system is awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, it had a great concept as far as the build of the game, and then it's just the other stuff was just kind of
Yes.
It had potential.
But good news for you, they just announced the Legendary Edition, all 3 games in one for Mass Effect, with everything being updated with controller support and better battle systems and streamlined and rebalancing. Yes. Mass Effect was amazing because it was revolutionary, but it was actually kind of janky, especially the first one. It's almost good that you waited all these years because now you can play the experience like refined and polished. It's
right.
Whew, you're gonna like that game. I think you're gonna like Mass Effect. But those are 3 60-hour games, so
wow,
good luck with that.
Yeah,
but the lore. Oh, I forgot. I brought it up because of lore. So you get into the Destiny lore. Mass Effect has this codex basically that the series is called Mass Effect because the fundamental breakthrough in technology that allows for faster than light travel and a lot of technology is called the Mass Effect, and they're able to use it's made up, but the idea is you use some sort of gravitational manipulation to artificially reduce the mass or increase the mass of matter. And that's the basis behind your shields, your weapons, the warp drives, and every piece of gear and kit has an explanation of how it works into the greater world, the history, the corporations. Cool. You can go into just text and text. It's there's a full novel in all of those games that explains.
I love games like that.
Yeah, it's the best. It's the best.
It's not just you're playing this and it is what it is. It's no, you're playing this, but here's the story behind what's going on, or here's the story behind that thing you found, or why is this building here? Oh, because this. I love stuff like that. It gets you more connected to the game, and it makes it more immersive because now you actually it's a living world to you now because you know why this is this way, or why these people are acting this way, or why this works this way. I like that.
Yes, definitely. Did you play Cyberpunk 2077, by the way?
Oh, yeah, I'm still playing it.
Hell yeah. How far are you?
You know what's crazy? I'm playing it on an S, right? Xbox One S. Unlucky me, I haven't had any problems. And I see all these complaints, and everybody's like, this game is buggy. I'm like, it hasn't glitched or done anything for me. Yeah,
dude,
the graphics aren't 100%, but I expected that because it's an Xbox One S. But I haven't had any problems. I played through the whole story. And I'm going because when you beat it, you actually are allowed to go back. So I went back, and now I'm working on the side missions, and I'm not having any problems.
Yeah,
so,
I had no problems.
Knock on wood.
Yeah.
Now I haven't played it since the newest update. I heard the newest update messed it up for Xbox, so I haven't seen that yet.
But I heard some negative news about that too. That they had to hot fix their hot fix.
Yeah.
People were joking about that. I didn't have any issues. I played it on PC. I had no issues.
No.
I had one crash at the very end of the game. I thought it was awesome when you were talking about the Observer. What reminded me when you were talking about jacking in people, seeing people's last moments, there's that similar mechanic with the brain dance thing in which they didn't use that much. Ultimately, they prop it up as I guess what I'm trying to say is my only complaint about Cyberpunk is that it was there wasn't enough. It ended, and I'm like, you set up all this cool shit in lore, but we really didn't do. There's just this huge world. I'm like, I guess DLCs and sequels and stuff can play on all this, but I just wanted more. That's why is it already over? This shit was awesome.
Right.
I want more.
You've created this huge world, and it's MMO quality world.
Yes.
And it's you play through this story that's really essentially linear, and then it's done, and you're just like, wait, there could have been so much more. I could have done. It's and I think. In my second playthrough, as I'm going through it, I'm taking my time, and I don't care about the story. Jackie can keep on calling me all he wants to on the phone.
Yeah.
I'm not coming. I'm going to go do this. I'm going to go explore. I'm not doing the story. Stop bothering me. I want to go figure everything because there's so many hidden things and weapons and lore and just stuff you can find. And I'm just I'm going to enjoy it this go around.
And the story was good. I thought the voice acting and the facial animations, all the characters were done really well. There wasn't that many. I think part of it was because I was really big into The Witcher 3, and by the time The Witcher 3 was complete, you had 3 DLCs, the last one, Blood and Wine, being 30 hours in and of itself as a DLC. So I forget that The Witcher 3 took 5 years to get to that after release to what it was that I remember. So I think I went into the game thinking I was going to get Witcher 3 level depth and breadth across the board at launch, which obviously wasn't the case. I mean, the launch of Cyberpunk has become... Dude, I have a conspiracy theory about that. I don't think the launch was as bad as the media.
Yeah. I
says
feel
it
that way
is.
too.
But I don't know if it's just like,
Because if you really think about it, like that first week when all the influencers were like, "Yeah, I got 50 hours in," and there were a couple bugs here and there, and there was a couple crashes, but nobody was like really like mad. Nobody was like, "Oh, this game's trash, don't get it," until they fix it.
Yeah.
And they had already played it. They played through the story. Some people had like 2 or 3 playthroughs in, and they were like, "Man, this game is great." And then it released, and then all of a sudden, this game's a shit show. And you're like, wait, what? It's like, but all the other game people, even when IGN reviewed it before it came out, they were like, there are a few bugs, but nothing that makes it that the game's unplayable. And then when I played it, I was like, this isn't unplayable. And every once in a while, there's something will glitch or something happen. And it's not that it's not game breaking. You're not going to be like, oh, well, now I can't play. It's just like, oh, hey, that dude randomly just flew through the air, or oh, that car blew up for no reason. Cool. It's funny to me, like I see stuff like that and I'm like, ha, and then people get so mad. Like my wife gets mad at me because she's like, why are you always fussing about games or people complaining about games? Like, because I don't understand why they fuss and complain, because it's just like, these things happen. You have to understand it's coding, yes, they play test. Like a lot of people are like, oh, did you even test your game? And it's like, yes, they tested. Of course they tested it. But you're looking at a group of developers, anywhere from like 50 to 100 if it's a small studio, even if it's a large studio. These people play it, and they send out copies to other people to play it, but that's like maybe a grand total of like, 200 and something people playing it for that bug to not have happened. Then you put it out to the mass public, and now you have millions of people playing it, and then a bug happens. So it's a different control group than there was when they tested it originally. And so... Yeah, people just have to be understanding sometimes it's just what it is. And if a company says, okay, we noticed the problem, we're going to fix it, then cool. It'd be different if they were like, man, the game's broke. Oh, well, like Anthem. like that's something to complain about. I bought Anthem. They didn't do anything to fix it.
You did? You bought Anthem at lunch? How was it? Was it as bad as everyone?
What's crazy about it is I still enjoyed it. I don't think there's anything wrong with Anthem. And once again, it's a lucky situation for me because my game never glitched. My character wasn't glitching through walls and twisting up and being. I played through it. I enjoyed it. I was like, it's no problem. The only thing that was for me was that it was over because there was no real in-game or continued content. So it was just like I played through it. Now it's like, okay, what do I do? Okay, well, I'll just wait to see what happens. And then EA just kind of just dropped it. And I was like, what? But what's wrong with it?
Isn't there, like, I thought I saw an announcement that they're working on Anthem 2.0. Like
they were, and then I guess, I haven't checked recently, but I think earlier last week, EA was supposed to be having a press conference-y type thing of and deciding the fate of Anthem, if they're going to continue to have BioWare work on it and do the 2.0 or the next, or just go ahead and drop it. And I don't know. Knowing EA, I have a feeling they're going to just be like, scrap it. It didn't do well, because they're one of those where if it doesn't do well, we don't want just forget about it. Let's move on to the next thing. So I'm hoping they don't, because it has a really great concept. I mean, gameplay is amazing. The loot system is great. A lot of games have issues with loot systems being like, we're doing all this hard work and I'm not getting anything, or it's too much of a grind. Anthem's definitely not that. You level up pretty well, and it's fast paced. It just needs a little bit of love.
I mean, it looks so badass. It's what I wish Destiny was as far as aesthetics. I like third person more than first person. Yeah. And you're talking about high tech suits. Fuck, right. I'm sold. All right, like more Iron Man shit, the better, in my opinion.
Right, so, and then fully customizable. Like, come on,
yeah.
Like, what?
Come on, son. That's everything. But I was hyped for it, but I was wary of EA, and BioWare had already started kind of going downhill from their glory days, and I was suspicious, and that the launch, again, I was about to say to your previous comment that, I'm embarrassed by gamers and the amount, I'm constantly embarrassed by the gaming community of how, like, prima donna it is.
Right.
And how much, how negative. But on the flip side, Anthem was, like, not great, I guess. So,
yeah,
I mean, it goes both ways.
Yeah, there's certain things that you can like, and I think what has happened is you have a lot of these companies. I love Bungie to death. I have a bunch of friends that work for Bungie, and I'm close with people, and I love the game. I've been playing it for a while, and I think what happens is you get into the concept of you want to make a community game and you want to say, okay, we're making a game for you and you guys decide what you like and don't like about it. And we build it around that concept. And what happens is you get these people who are like, oh, well, this is my game and I get to decide because I paid for it. And what am I paying for if I'm not getting what I want? So every little thing is a complaint and everything is like, I need you to adjust this, or I don't like how this gun works. So we're not going to play your game if you don't fix it. And it gets into that point. And it's like, because of that, it's hurting. I think it hurts the gaming community, or it hurts a lot of publishers and developers because, they put in a lot of time and effort into stories and lore and building the game. And, to them, when they release something, they're hype about it. They're like, oh, I can't wait for people to see this. It's no different with me and music. Like, I make music and I put a lot of emotion and energy in my music because it means a lot to me. And when I put it out there, I hope that somebody feels that same emotion and feeling and vibe that I felt when I made it, when they listen to it. And so if someone's like, this is straight garbage, it's like, oh, my feelings out. Oh, yeah. And so I'm sure it feels the same when they're putting this energy in there. And it's like, to go out and fix it and change it, and then it's like, oh, we'll find a new thing to whine about or to complain about. Nobody's ever happy, it seems. And I wish that, like we brought up about the old systems, it was back to those times where it's like you were saying about, I can't remember it. Like how Ninja Gaiden was hard and stuff like that. It's like, it's unapologetic. The game is hard. If you don't like it, don't play it. Or you beat it, get good.
Yeah,
and it's nowadays, it's like, this game's too hard, I don't want to play it. You need to fix your game. It's too complicated. It needs to be more, suitable for the casual player. But it wasn't built that way. And it wasn't intended. I'm pretty sure a lot of these games are working as intended. But because there's this entitlement now in gaming that is just, it hurts a lot of games, because there are the people who are like you and me that like love that aspect of the games. And now it's like, well, I just smashed this in 2 hours, so I'm done with the game because it was too easy, because it was designed to be, universally playable, and it hurts sometimes because there's a lot of games that have a lot of potential that lose potential because they're trying to cater to a market or a certain group. And a lot of companies, they do it more so for the money or just to maintain a player base. So it's like, instead of it being, oh, well, we have this great player base that loves the game for what it is, but we have these new players that are whining and complaining because it's broken or they don't like it, so we need to like make sure they're happy too. And it's just ouch sometimes, but it's the way it is. It's the way it is.
Video games are notoriously difficult and expensive to develop. Mm-hmm. And I think a great way to help someone understand like how much experience you would have to, how much experience matters if you were going to say like start a video game studio. Amazon, who has endless money,
right,
was like, we're going to get into video games. And then a year later, like, never mind.
Right.
Never mind. Yeah, you guys have fun with that. We're not into this. It's like, this is so hard. Right. And Billy, like, it's... So
then it's even more so for like independent studios. Like, people don't understand how hard it is for somebody who doesn't have a publisher that is developing everything on its own. And, their game engine is theirs. They're not using like, a lot of these companies that are like the big ones, like, like Bungie, and who else has, like, Resident Evil has its own game engine, things like that, where they have their own stuff and they're doing everything on their own and building it from the ground up. And, so there's not like this unlimited money. Like, I know like people get mad about microtransactions, and I'm just like, there's not a rule that says you have to do it. Like, you don't have to do it. It's like, oh, they want us to spend more money. No, they're just coming up with solutions to help them develop the game for you, who are complaining about how the game doesn't have enough stuff. Well, that stuff also costs money and time and people and resources, and, and so, and because they're independent, they can't just pull this money out of their pocket, so they don't have a studio to go to say, hey, people want this in the game, and because you're publishing the game and you're making money off of it, you need to give us the money so we can do that. They don't have that. I think people have to be a little more understanding about that sometimes. Like, and it's hard. Like, I'm like in the process of getting into doing scoring for video games myself, and learning Fmod and Weiss and Unity and all that. And I'm like I'm just learning it, and I'm just on the small end of just making soundtracks. I'm just making music and coding it into the game, and it's already like my brain hurts.
Yeah.
I'm just like it shouldn't be that hard, because you think, oh, it's just music, but that is hard. So if it's hard for me in that sense, Imagine the person who has to code the character movements, the lighting effects, the weapon handling, the hit boxes and things like that. There's more to it than just, oh, I don't like how this works. You need to fix it by tomorrow. We need a patch update by the end of the week, or we're not playing your game. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
I would recommend if you're slightly interested. And I had this idea. Okay, I want to learn how to make a game. I know there's tools out there. I'm going to take the sprites and animations from some of my favorite fighting games. Mm-hmm. I'm going to import them into something like Unity and just see if I can create my own movements and whatever. Just kind of see if I can get a character moving around on like a 2D space. Mm-hmm. Woo! I was 12 hours into it, and I'm like, I can open a project.
Right.
Okay, this just the barrier to entry, the technical barrier to entry. I knew it was going to be bad, and it was so much worse than I was anticipating.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is why even small little retro games need 10, 20 people.
Mm-hmm.
This shit is hard. And then it made me appreciate guys like the dude that made Axiom Verge or Dust and Elysian Tale, these games that are made by one dude. Mm-hmm. And then you read about him, the guy who made Axiom Verge, which was a breakout hit, indie hit, I should say, took him 7 years. And he was already an experienced programmer, I think. So it's 7 years. No wonder it took him 7 years. And that's an old school NES retro themed, really simple Metroid clone.
Right. So you can only imagine a 3D environment. And a lot of people see I know at Bungie they have their way their engine is designed. It's as simple as going in and changing some code, but you still have to find that code, and you still have to figure all those things out. And then you have to make sure that if I change this code, does it affect anything else in Destiny? If everybody's complaining about how this weapon is too OP, so if I bring this down or I change the values of hand cannons, is it going to affect all hand cannons across the board, or is it going to make it so that this affects this because this code is different now? And those are things that you have to think about sometimes, And then at the same time, I notice nowadays, I think mostly now I've been more complaining about it because there's a pandemic and everybody's working from home. So the fact that these games are still coming out, it's be appreciative that the game is still they're doing something. They could just say, hey, no new updates until things get better.
Yeah.
And they're making sure you have something to do while you're sitting at home bored in the house bored, as they say.
Yeah.
And they still put out their game. So there's a bug here or there, or something's not working like you think it should. It's at least I have something to do. It's all about perspective sometimes. But
sweet. I got to I drank 2 beers. I got to take a quick whiz break.
Yeah. No problem.
But then I want to talk to you about, were you into any PS1 games during the time by chance?
What can I think of? I'll think of some things. There's
something.
Because
PS1 for me was the golden era. That was the Celestial Kingdom. But let me take a pee real quick. I'll be back in 1 minute.
All right.
I have to return. So you did have a PS1 and a PS2 before you left Sony?
Definitely. I'm going to have to say that my favorite game was Parappa the Rapper, and that game was no, I'm joking. No,
hey, I liked that. Hey, I liked that game.
It was a good game. I was all about the kick punch, but like we said, Metal Gear, that was awesome.
Oh, yes.
Legacy of Kain, that game was dope.
Dude, the whole I'm so glad you brought that up. This is actually the first time I've talked about this in the podcast. The whole series.
Yes.
Did you play the whole series?
I played. I'm trying to remember. Did I play all of them? I feel like I did. I don't remember if I played all of them. I do remember the first one. The first one is embedded. I can't remember if I played the other ones. But yeah.
The whole series, Legacy of Kain and Soul Reaver, and then how they come together with the last few games on PS2.
Yes, I did play Soul Reaver. I did.
Yeah,
yes.
Soul Reaver is badass too. Soul Reaver 2, and then you have Legacy Kain, Blood Omen on the PS. Mm-hmm. Anyway, the story between how do you say his name, Azrael and Kain? And it involves time travel, and it was actually one of the first sort of worlds and lore that I got into. I got into the world of Legacy of the Kain, I got into Lord of the Rings as a young teenager, and no one brings that up. There used to be this website that I bookmarked. It's gone now. I wish I could track it down. that put together like a full synopsis and breakdown of all the games and how all the games connect and the complete lore and story of the whole series, which is just wild as shit. And those games were badass. I'm not surprised. Like I was trying to think when I was going P. Okay, like I know he likes dark shit, Silent Hill. And I didn't think of Legacy of Kain, but that makes total sense now that I think about it. Your vampire is dope.
Right.
Yeah.
What else was there? Of course, Final Fantasy VII. That's a given. If nobody likes Final Fantasy VII, then you might need your gamer card revoked. I'm just saying. No, I'm joking.
I mean, it is a legendary game.
Yes.
It is kind of though, like when someone says like, I ask them what's your favorite JRPG and they say Final Fantasy VII, I do roll my eyes. I'm like, God damn it! I mean, it's awesome, but there's lots of other good ones. Yeah.
What else did I play that I enjoyed? Of course, all the Resident Evil games. Those are great. There was a lot of corny moments in Resident Evil games, like Jibble Sandwich. That was like, what are you even talking about? But
what's that? There's like, what's that famous scene when like the ceiling's coming down with Barry and Jill in the first game?
Yeah, that's it. You almost became a Jibble Sandwich.
Oh yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
Like what? Like the game was so good until you said that. Why did you say that?
Yeah, there's some weird.
What's interesting is that same area. I think. Was it that area? There's an area in the game that I didn't even realize. The other day I was playing 7, and I was in a hallway. There's like a save spot, and there's a set of stairs that go down. And I was leaving it. I got this just flash of nostalgia. I was like, yo, this is the same area that's in the mansion in Resident Evil 1. Like, it's the same hallway and everything. Like, they actually recreated it in the house. And I was like, that's cool. I was like, man, that game is really hard. I haven't finished it yet, and I have, like, this, like, pact with myself that I can't get Village until I finish 7. And 7's really kicking my butt. Like, I'm just like, man, like, why is it so hard? There's like, I think there was a moment I went into a hallway and like there was like 7 of those like squishy black monster things, and I was like, oh, I have 2 bullets, so I guess I'm dying. Like, yeah. It's like, man, but that's the reality. If you were in that situation for real, it is what it is.
It is what it is. You got to figure. You got to survive. You got to survive. Figure it out. Yep. I didn't beat 7. But I did play a significant portion in VR on PSVR.
Oh my God, you're brave for that. Like, I think 7 is the first time I've actually been genuinely scared in the Resident Evil series. Like, I'm just like, this is terrifying. This is like, because I think it's more of a real deal situation, and then putting it in first person even makes it more immersive. So it's like, and I've noticed that same thing for me with movies and stuff. Like, I can watch scary movies with monsters and all kinds of ridiculousness, and I'm like, cool. It's monsters, whatever. But like real life psychological situations that like this could actually happen. This is not something that's super far fetched. There are crazy hillbilly like families in the woods, Yeah. So it's like, it's like this could actually happen. You could be in this situation, or you have like this random wrist thing on your hand, and you've got to survive. You got to figure it out, And then just all the fights were cool. Like fighting Dad in the garage. That was cool. All kinds of little situations that you're in. It's just like, and you really had to like sit down and really figure them out and think about them realistically. It wasn't like, some like, oh, I have a gun and I can just take this person out. It's not a big deal. It's like, you really have to figure out, how do I survive this? How do I get out of this alive and without shooting something, or finding a way to sneak through this area without getting caught. That made it really cool. So I'm like really excited for Village. I want to see where they take this sequel, and that part made it even cooler to me that it's like a continuation. So
the footage for Village looks pretty awesome.
Yeah,
for what I've seen so far, it looks. I was watching some of the PS5 footage. I think it's the same as the Series X. For a console, I'm like, damn. I mean, that looks pretty convincing.
Yeah, I want to see how. I just saw an ad the other day for the new Unreal stuff, and I'm like, the mocap stuff, and I'm just like, when this gets implemented into video games, holy crap. like what? I'm like, man, things are getting. And it's funny. I remember times when I was younger and like games were coming out, and I was like, these graphics are amazing. I don't understand how they can get better than this. It looks so real. It's so awesome. And then like the next console comes out, and you're like, oh my god, this is so ridiculous. I can't imagine getting any better than this. And then this Unreal came out with this new thing, and I'm just like, these are literally real people. You can't get better than real people. like the hair. I think for me, like it's always been like, what is the one thing that separates like a game from getting to the closest point of reality? And it's always been hair. And this new Unreal Engine, they do individual follicles, so it's actually hair. It's just like, what? There it is. They've achieved that one thing that. You obviously, you'll go, man, that face looks great. It looks almost human, but that hair, though. Yeah. And now that's fixed. So it's going to be really interesting to see what games come out using that. It's going to be really cool beyond.
Shit, I was going to ask you something about, it wasn't a video game. And we were talking, and it was like not a music or a movie. I can't remember. We already talked about anime. Well, damn. I lost my train of thought. I got too high before the podcast. My apologies. It is what it is.
Right.
For your music, you mentioned before that you did a label before this Blakmoth, I guess, artist name, right? Mm-hmm. And your previous artist name, what was that? I remember you messaged me.
Oh no, it's always been Blakmoth.
It's always been Blakmoth. Okay.
Yeah.
The label was called something different.
Yeah, it was called Electron. It was Electron, and I had we had it was more of a collective at first, and I really wanted to push it towards the label side of things and start doing releases and things like that. It's very overwhelming. It's kind of like that gaming thing we were talking about. It's like there's a lot to it. And more respect to the people who do it. Like Olivier is for Aerogrid, where I'm at now. Like more props to him, man. He's putting in a lot of work because he's doing a lot more than I was doing. And I'm like, man, awesome. And
Aerogrid is dope. Once I found them,
there's a lot of appreciation.
Russia, I was like,
oh yeah,
everything's
Aerogrid.
dope.
We've got the roster.
Yeah.
We're doing big things. I love being part of that family. That's like, I'm not going nowhere. Those are my guys right there. So
yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy because it's like we give each other all the props in the world, and it's like, even with me and my music, like I'm never a level thinking person. Like I'm always like, yo, I aspire to be just as cool as Snakes of Russia one day. Like he's just the dopest, and like, he'll be like, your music is amazing, So it's like this back and forth, and that's cool. That there's never, I'm better than this person, or it's always this back and forth, which is great. It's a very humble space.
Well, he is pretty dope. And the first time I heard his music, I just sat in the car and didn't do what I was supposed to do, what I was there to do, and I just listened to like a bunch of songs. I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's pretty dope. He makes some dope shit.
His stuff is quality. It's very quality.
Very quality. And his output's actually, now, I mean, I'm new. Like I've probably only known of him for like 5 months now, 6 months. I'm pretty new, but I'm going back looking at the date of his releases, and he keeps putting out tracks like a month or a remix or something with there. Mm-hmm. He seems pretty consistent.
Yeah.
He must have some sort of like, I talked to him a little bit about it, but he's got a good system, obviously. He's putting out stuff, and it's quality, and I'm excited to see that Robot Koch, the whole era, like, because I was in this, I had like this love for dark ambient cinematic kind of shit, sci-fi stuff, and I had Lorne, and then I found Monument, and I found a few other like I would find guys here and there that either they had a few tracks that were what I was looking for, and I would put them on a playlist. Mm-hmm. But maybe their whole discography was kind of like hit and miss for me. Mm-hmm. But then I found Aerogrid and it was like, oh, these guys are like, okay, this is a label that's aggregating the kind of stuff that I've been having a hard time finding on my own. Another one that I got way into was Anthony Baldino. Do you know who that is?
No.
Anthony Baldino is he has a recent album, 21-2 or something. It's all modular. It's mainly ambient with some beats. Mm-hmm. Dude, I think you'd actually really like him.
I'm gonna look
Anthony
him up right
Baldino.
now.
I can let me message you his like Spotify URL.
Okay.
Share copy artist link. I will put it in this chat. I think you'll see his most recent release is the only one I'm super familiar with. It's called 1222. Mm-hmm. Standout track for me would be probably Dust, number 4. I think check it out. I think you might In fact, I thought like he's so up your alley. For some reason, I thought he was connected to you guys. I get Robot Koch and Steve Nalepa mixed up in my brain. I don't know why. But yeah, you might like that guy. He's it's all modular. I know we were talking about modular. I think before we started recording, but
right. I love modular so much. I'm so glad I love modular. It changed my life.
What's your favorite thing about it?
The tactile. I love the connection. I made music for a long time. When I first started making music, it was in Cubase with like, I had my MIDI keyboard and I had Machine. And I just, I would belt out music like daily. And it was so easy. The workflow was just so flawless. And at the end of the day, I just never felt connected to the music. Like I felt like I was just, like a push button DJ at that point. It's like, I made some stuff and then, I wanted to start doing some live stuff and, it was like I couldn't really do it with that. And so I wanted to find a way to get connected. So I bought my first little synth, and I got a little Volca FM. And I love that thing so much that I bought a second one and then I just played those forever. And I think every album up until I want to say 2019 was just done on those two Volca FMs. And then I got a Volca keys and added to it, and I think I got a Volca bass, so I became a Volca fan, and I got a hold of. I was scrolling around, and I was trying to find something else. Like I just really wanted to be able to shape my sound, and I was watching all these these guys with modular systems and stuff, and I was like, man, I really want to do that. But modular is so expensive. Is there anything that's affordable? And I stumbled upon AE Modular, a company in Germany. By this guy, Robert Langer, and he had the same concept of the Volcas. The Volca modular had come out, and his thought process was, why this is a really cool system. It kind of is like a Buchla system, but just tiny and affordable. But how can I make something like this? Why can't modular just be this? Why can't it be individual modules that, you connect just like modular, you patch and everything, but this small and affordable? And so he went out and created a system and modules like that, and it's taken off and it's great. He sent me my first system, as just inspiration, like, hey, I'm gonna sponsor you this system, I want you to learn and whatnot. And I was like super appreciative of it. I was like, man, this is so great. And I took the time learning. I recommend that to anybody that's getting into modular. And if you're worried about the cost, get an AE modular system, because you'll learn everything about modular and it'll set you up for when you decide to make that jump to Eurorack. Like I have, just this skiff and it has everything I need in it because I had the A modular first. So I didn't have that problem of, what do I buy? Oh, I'm going to get this module and I'm going to get this module. And now I have like this whole wall and rack of modules, and I'm only using like 5 of them because they're the ones that do the thing I need it to do. So I know that already. So I pre-built my system in modular grid. And it's just, I've since that day of getting the AE modular system, it was everything I needed because I felt connected to the music. Like everything I do, like even now, I have modules for modulation and things like that, but I still self-modulate because I have to touch everything. I have to be a part of everything that's going on. I don't want it to be any automation going on. I try to I'll have some things going, but even those things are still being adjusted. So even on my voice modules, I change different things as I'm playing it, and that connectivity I feel like I'm molding the sound myself. And so at the end of the day, when the song's done, I know I shaped it and I molded it just from me, and it has so much more value than pressing some keys or sitting and setting in a MIDI sequence and all that. And just, it's a different experience, not to take away from like anybody who's making music like that. Like all creativity is equal. It's still creativity, but there's just a different feeling. Once you're done, you're just like, wow, because you're part of the music. So it's great. It's tactile. Is your workflow, do you do the entire song is patched and modulated, or do you modulate patch a part and then print it to tape and start over and patch another part and layer on top? Nope.
So it's all at once.
It's all at once. Every album, every release that's come out since I've gotten to modular has been a live recording of me literally patching it and going as I go and changing things as I'm going, and then I hit stop.
Okay.
And save it,
and you're done.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the great. What that does, unfortunately, is majority of my albums happen like within a day or two, and depending on like whether I go to sleep or not, because I get in a vibe and I don't want to leave that. But like, this is the album, and then because it's modular, there is no saving. You know, you
There
can't.
is none.
You know, you come back tomorrow and you turn it on, and it totally sounds different. It's not even the same thing anymore, and you're like, but all the cables are in the same place. What? So I stick with it until it's done. You know, and I try to stick with it more so too, because like the next day I might feel totally different, and so the vibe will be different. And then, you know, there's lots of times where I've tried it and I get up and I'm like, I don't like this album anymore, so I'm gonna start over. You know, so there's a lot of times like I'll get an album done the day of release, but I had been working on it for a whole week, but because I kept restarting and not liking something, or how one song didn't go with another one, I started over. And so I get to the day of deadline and I'm like, okay, we have no choice but to get this done today. So, you know, but
do you, so if you need to redo a track, because for those who don't understand how modular works, which might be a lot of people, it's like building a synth, but it's all taken apart. It's in these modular like Lego blocks that go together, and you have to manually run cables in between each part. And that's fun because it's tactile, but when you're done, you're done. Like it's not like a digital where I can save this preset and this is my bass sound, or this is whatever. Like you mentioned, when you're done, it's so when you redo a song, do you just have memorized like how do you write down notes? I need to redo this.
It's just over. Now, what I have done in the past, like with a lot of like releases, if I needed to do like a live set or whatever, I'll patch out the output into a multi-track cassette. And so that way I have it there. And if I needed to perform it where I can't really do that in the modular, I still have the mix because they're all separated. Yeah. So I can go in and adjust things and do it that way. But the modulation is now gone. The modulation is set. So, but yeah, I have that. But yeah, now, because I've started getting into doing scoring and stuff, and I'm wanting to get into like games and stuff like that, I did go back to Cubase, and now I have everything going through the interface separated into the DAW, so I can do that. So you know, so like, because that'll be a big problem when it comes to like, okay, we like this track, but can you have this part come in here or do this differently? And it's like, no, because I did it on modular.
Yes.
So I'm gonna have to make you a whole new track now. But doing it that way now, that was more practical. Like, I was so adamant about being DAWless for like the longest time, but then I realized that value right there is important, you know, to be able to go back and change something or edit something. So I still play everything live and record it live, but it's all separated into individual tracks in the DAW. So.
And you can refine it and play around.
So if somebody's like, well, you see how this one comes in here? Can we have it come in here? And it's like, oh, yeah, now I have to just slide it over a little bit. So, yeah.
If you could do a soundtrack for any video game, what would it be? Franchise? Or...
I know I couldn't. He's so great. I wouldn't want to step on his toes, but I would love to sit in the seat and chair of Akira Yamamoto and do some Silent Hill games. That would be dope. I'd love to do that. And like I said, I love blooper stuff too. So like anything that they make, I'd love to hop on. Their stuff is great too. That would be cool. Because I feel like my sound is similar. Like I would put it in that same, you know, it's very textured, very, you know, droney, things like that. So it fits the series. It fits. Yeah.
What's your most emotional gaming moment? The time where you got the most emotional from a story or a situation gaming?
You know what's crazy? There's a lot of moments like that because I really get deep into the games when I'm playing them. But it was recent. And it was this is why I try to tell people, stop buying into the hype of how good or not good a game is, because the end of Cyberpunk 2077 is the most deepest experience I've ever had. Like, because you connect so well. Like, if you play through the story, you connect so much with V in the situation if you're actually playing and paying attention to what's going on, that when you get to the end game and you have to make those choices and figure out what you want to do, and then that choice happens. Like, I literally was sitting there like, oh, fuck, damn, this sucks. Or depending on which ending you got, oh, that was cool, you know, or, you know, there's like, 7 different endings or something, like, or more. And it's like, each one of them, there's like a depth to it where you're just like, wow, that's like, wow. Like, I sat there for like a good, like maybe 10 minutes just staring at the screen going, what? Wow. okay, that really got me in the chest. That's crazy.
Yeah, there's a scene. I think most of it's whatever. The game's out. Like the premise is you have a chip in your head that has the leftover or a copy, some sort of digital copy of old school a dude from 50 years before who's a crazy motherfucker, anarchist guy. That's who Keanu Reeves is. And the chip is like slowly eating away your personality, and this like backup of this guy who's been dead is like slowly taking over your body. Long story short, you get to the end of the game and you have a choice to like let him take over, not let him. There's some more variables, but I agree. The choice you make at the top of like you're sitting at the view like where the two camping chairs are, where that girl talks to you, and you're looking out and you decide like, are you going to give Johnny control?
Right.
I think I sat there for like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, damn.
Like
what am I going to do?
I actually literally thought about it as myself. Like I had connected so much with V. It was like, it wasn't even like, what would V do? Or what, it was like, what would I do? How would I do?
Yes.
And the feelings that I had personally about it were my own feelings. Like, am I going to die? Like, what do I do? You know, do I, and I thought about it like V would think about it at this point, because V's whole point was he wanted to go out a legend. He wanted to be remembered. He wanted to do something. And if he had to die, he didn't want to die forgotten and nobody. And so it's like I took that into consideration. Have I done everything that I could that I can die in peace? So go ahead and let Johnny do it. Or is there more unfinished business? Do I want to go back and live my life and just let this thing eat away at me and I die anyway? But at least, I lived my life and I was a legend, because either way, Johnny's going to take over no matter what, unless you get the ending where Johnny decides to stay with the construct. So it's like there was all these variables, and then there was endings that were like really cool, like where you and Johnny just go out with a bang together.
Yes.
And then there was that one you just decide that you're not going to go through it at all.
Yeah.
It's like I got to that point too, and I was like, would I do that? Like, would I just say, you know what? We're going to die anyway. It's like, it's crazy. And then just involving people, it's like, when Johnny says, is there anybody you need to call? Because this is it. We're going to go do this thing. Do you have anybody you want to say goodbye to? And it's like even then I sat for a long time, like, wow, this is real now. Like, this is about to happen.
You better have called Pan Am.
Oh yeah. You can't not call Pan Am. Like,
you have to call her. Yeah.
like man. Yeah, she stays mad at you, man. She stays mad.
I didn't know Witcher 3 had the ability to romance multiple people, but if you romance too many, it would like ruin the romances. Mm-hmm. And I figured there was like some sort of thing going on with the Cyberpunk at the same time. I didn't know that the romance options were way more limited. Mm-hmm. And I also didn't know that Judy was like a lesbian only romance.
Right.
And I wanted Judy.
Right.
And I was like,
man, Judy was the one.
Every time she called, I would pick up. I'm like, I'm going to give Judy my attention. But she just never was feeling it.
Right.
And Pan Am was like, I want you.
Right.
Pan Am was all about it.
Right.
And at the end of so I didn't want Pan Am, but once I realized I couldn't get Judy, I was like, okay, she'll do. Pan Am will do. But but her ending, by the end, like she's so loyal and she's so like ride or die. Mm-hmm. Like I got your back, ride or die. It's like, dude, you have to like. I felt like I was falling in love with this chick because of her loyalty. It was crazy.
That was the main thing about the game. Like I wish they would have got more credit, like for the fact that their story, their character development, flawless to me.
It's good.
At least.
Yeah, it's good.
It's like. You really connect to the characters. You really like get, like you said, feelings for these characters. Like I considered the call to Pan Am. Like, would I do that? I don't want to call her and tell her that, because now she's gonna rush up and she's gonna try and help. And then what if she gets killed? Like, I thought about it like that.
Yes.
And it's like this is a video game. Remember, this is a video game. Calm down. And it was like now, and that's the whole point of a video game. Like, you're supposed to feel like that. You're supposed to get that connected. And me talking about how I feel about my music, that's what makes Cyberpunk awesome to me. No matter the glitches or any of that, the fact that I was able to connect to the game 100%, like to be 100% in sync with a video game is epic. No matter the glitches or how you feel about it, that game, it's the one. If you haven't played it, don't fall for the hype about, it's a broken game or blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, it's good.
Just play it. You can play through it. It's okay. Take the glitches as jokes. That's how I did it. Whenever something would happen, I'd just be like, nah, that's funny. And I just keep rolling, It's not unplayable,
It's not unplayable.
But the story is it's great. It's really good. And it's like there's a lot of moments in there where you have to like really think about stuff, like the situation when you're doing the heist. And there's a lot of cyberware you can get where you notice certain, like there's the one where you get notified when someone detects you, like when you've been detected. And when me and Jackie were hiding in the thing, Adam Smasher showed up as somebody who detected me. And I was like, oh shit, he knows we're here. And,
but he doesn't do anything.
But he doesn't do anything. So, it's like, but why? Why didn't he react? But he knows. And the same thing with Takamura. When Takamura looked and he scanned, it was like, I wonder if he actually knows, because he ends up being an ally later. So it's like, I wonder if he knew the whole time. Like, he kind of used us as, you're a witness. So I need to keep you alive because you're the only person who's witnessed this situation.
Yeah.
So it's very
That would actually make sense because he finds you super quick after the heist.
Right.
That would make sense that he knew you were there and was like, okay, I got to track this person down after this is going down because this, that makes total sense.
Well, I was like,
that game.
All the missions were really cool. The story missions, like the side missions, are cool because they're side missions. They're going to be obviously like some quick things, but like the actual story missions were like being betrayed in certain missions. It was like I really got my feelings hurt. Like, really, dude? Like that's our friendship.
Yeah.
That's our situation. Like it's like, man, or just when people die, you're just like, dang, that really hurt. Like I thought for there's a lot of times, not to spoil the game, so I'm going to keep things out, but like I could go back and save people sometimes. Like I was upset, like oh no, was there a way I could have prevented this from happening? Let me load up a save and go back. And I tried over and over again. I tried different things. I was like, and I felt bad. I was like, no, this is like my road dog. This is my dude. I can't help. He can't die. What am I supposed to do now? A game that makes you feel like that is a good game. The end. It doesn't. They did a great job story wise.
Oh, dude! Speaking of when you have to go, I don't care about spoiling.
He's like, I don't care. Like you should have played it.
When you go back and you go to Jackie's funeral, and all the people are there, and you say your speech, and then you go back to his warehouse, and the girlfriend is there.
Yes.
But the girlfriend and the mom have a little bit of issues because the mom didn't really like that Jackie was dating her, and you have to sort of play that balance. Like, I don't want to.
Right.
It's just and I was like, it made me like agreed. I was thinking like, how would I handle this? Like, someone just died. Both these people love this person that just died, but they don't like each other. But they're both friends with me. Like, this is a precarious social situation, and feelings are like really sensitive. The death, like we all loved this person. He's dead now. But I don't think he would want you two to hate each other.
Right.
But I remember it was a death. Like, I knew they did a good job about developing Jackie as a character because I was legit bummed when he died. I was super bummed.
He was the coolest dude, man. He was great. He was your friend for real.
For real. He was also ride or die. Like, they basically, like, everyone in that game is kind of using you. There's like this moral gray area. But there's two characters that are ride or die. It's Jackie and Pan Am.
Right.
They have your back no matter what. And so, like, I could never, like, that's why when Pan Am, like, as I started learning, even though I was going for Judy, Pan Am would call and be like, dude, I have to answer because she's so loyal to me. Like, I would be a dick if I don't.
Like, I would literally be in the middle of missions, and she would call and be like, hey, we need your help here and doing this, and I would literally go to the map and change my waypoint. I got to go, man. I don't care what, you can go ahead and deal with that, Jackie, but I'm going this way. But it's like, it's crazy. And then it's like, speaking of the girlfriend, it's like when you make the decision to go to the Soccer Corp and deal with stuff, and it's like she gets mad. She's like, you're gonna work with them even though what happened to Jackie. I felt so bummed. I felt so wrong. Like, I was like, whoa, I never thought about it like that. Like, these are the dudes that killed my friend. Why am I associating with these people? Like, what? Like, wait a minute. It was crazy because I really hadn't thought about it like that until that point. And then I just felt bad. And I was just like, oh, dang, she's right. I was like, see, stuff like that. And, it's like, a lot of games tell you, like, decisions that you make throughout the game can alter the game later, and some things you're just like, you don't feel like they really did. You're like, what are you talking about? But those things, there's moments like that, and a lot of people said Cyberpunk really didn't do that, and I can see where they would feel that way, but it wasn't so much affecting the game world as it was affecting your relationship with people and how they responded. Because a lot of the choices that you got for talking to people and as your responses were different based off of things you did earlier or how you affected them earlier. If you said something to them earlier that pissed them off or made them think a certain way about you, when you got to talk to them later, you might not have the same options to respond, or they might have different responses towards you because of how they feel towards you. That's where it was happening. And I thought that was really cool too. Like, there's a lot of conversations with Johnny that are different based on how you handled situations in the game or how you responded to him. If you act like an asshole to him all the time, then you're always going to get that back from him. And there's a lot of connection that you don't get. One of the cool things in the game is when you go into your character view at the top, there's different reputations as far as what's going on in the game. And there's a middle one that's, your connection with Johnny. And then there's your also reputation as being a legend in Night City. And then there's one of how much corruption, how much Johnny has taken over your body. And that percentage in the middle for Johnny is literally that, how you interact with him and how close you become with him as far as a friend. And that really determines your end game too. It's like,
and there's a secret ending that you have to have perfect sync with him to get that ending, which there's a few choices. If you make the wrong choice, you can't get a high enough percentage.
It's like one thing, just this one little thing. It changes the whole game. But
it's that game is. I hope that they patch it and that new DLC comes out and it does sort of a No Man's Sky redemption thing.
At least that would be perfect. It's too good of a game.
It's too good of a game to go to waste. Yes, you can't let it die.
No.
Yeah, people need to play it. Like, whatever you've heard about Cyberpunk, I agree. Apparently, the base PS4, if you have a base non-PS4 Pro, is the most janky of all the versions. So maybe wait if you have a PS4. But if I've heard that from multiple people. Look, on PC, everyone I know who played it on PC, they're fine. Right. Almost everyone I know who's played it on either the Series X or the One or the 1S all had a good time too.
Yeah.
PS5 version is good as well. So you should play it. Like, I don't know why that game. I mean, it seems like the internet and like slices of the internet at each industry. Like right now, a lot of people are pissed at Gina Carano and the whole Disney. Like there's arguing about that. Like that's what's going on in the geek nerd world with like the drama. Right? There's always drama.
Right. It's like,
and I don't know.
Cancel culture is like weeding its way into video games now. It's like, you didn't make the game that we wanted, so we're going to cancel your game. We're going to shut it down.
Yeah.
We're going to talk so much bad press about it that everybody just assumes that it's garbage and doesn't play it, or claim that it's a dead game so nobody goes and buys it. And a lot of times there's nothing wrong with the game at all.
Yeah.
You just have to experience things for yourself. That's how I am. Like, I don't care about reviews. Like, if a game looks cool to me, I'm going to play it and decide for myself. That's why I bought Anthem. Even though everybody's like, I was like, nah, I'm still going to buy it. And I'm going to enjoy it. And I'm going to play it. And same thing with Cyberpunk, When Cyberpunk came out, I didn't get it day one. I kind of waited a couple days. But even in that time frame, there was all that, it's buggy, it's doing this or doing that. And I'm like, but this is CD Projekt Red, so I'm going to go ahead and buy the game because it's going to be all right.
Yep. Dude, I was like literally preloaded, already installed, day one, 12:01 a.m. unlocked, fired this motherfucker up. Let's go!
Right.
I was so stoked for that game. And you know what? It was what I wanted. I just wanted more. That's my only complaint. Like, I just wanted more.
It'd be interesting how the DLCs go, because it's like you've played as V and V is gone. So
V's gone. So what are we gonna do?
So who are you gonna? Is it gonna be a new character, or are they gonna like make it so that you can make your literal own character and play as somebody outside of the story? Make it a free roam. And it'll be interesting to see what happens. It's too big of a game not to make it a free roam. Like I really wish that that's the future of it. Like that's in the making, where it's like you create your own character that's actually you. There is no story. You just live in Night City and do missions and stuff like that. It doesn't need to be MMO. It doesn't need to be, if they'd add like multiplayer as far as like PvP type stuff, then please make that like a separate avenue in the game, like not part of an actual, because like there's games like, you know, like how Grand Theft Auto Online is. Like I don't want to be walking around Night City and then just get like taken out by some random dude who's just trolling to be funny. Like I just want to play the game.
Yeah.
You know, so if they do a PvP type thing, you know, make it somewhere else. But you know, that was one of the things that like put, like, it's cool, it's fun for everybody else, but it's just not me. Like, you know, I was like, man, it would be cool to get into Grand Theft Auto Online, and it's just like I just kind of want to enjoy the game. I don't want to worry about like, oh, this dude thinks it's funny to hit me with a car, so, and now I lost all my money and I got to go do missions again. No, I don't want to do that. you know. But I hope they don't go that route. I hope they keep it separate. But it would be cool if it was open world. You know, that would be a good direction to take it. Especially, like I said, it's huge. The city is huge. There's so much discovery, and it's not just huge in like expanse. It's up and down. Like you can, you know, once you get like certain augments where you can jump higher and stuff like that, you can climb up to the top of buildings, and then you like find stuff that's hidden up there, like because they intended that. They were like, they want you to explore. You know, there's so much hidden that they had. You could tell they were like, we're just gonna put stuff everywhere, and if you find it, you find it. You don't. You know.
Yeah. The game is dense. It's very dense. And I feel the same way. Like, the city is so big and so dense, but by the time you finish the main story, the main story only, like, really introduces you to, like, 20% of the city.
Yep.
It's like, there's a lot of areas that are, like, not even used. You can go to them, and there's side missions and shit there, but, like, there's just, like, I really enjoyed the lore and the dynamic between Netwatch and the Voodoo Boys. Mm-hmm. And the idea of like one thing I loved about the lore of the game is the idea of you have this internet and there's the black wall, like the outer space on the internet, and like what's behind the black wall and all that.
And everybody was just trying to get to there. They wanted to know that I got to get.
They wanted to know
the wall. What's back there?
Yeah.
Yeah, like that whole concept was so awesome to me that like at that point I hadn't really been pushing towards it, but like from that point of meeting the Voodoo Boys and understanding how the net was, I was a net runner from that point on. Like I put all of my perk points, all of my experience into being a net runner because I was like, oh, that's where I need to be right there.
I went all katana, like straight katana.
The katana is so ridiculous. Much fun though. It is.
It was awesome.
Yep.
So, but before we wrap up, I wanted to ask a couple more just general gaming questions, and then we'll wrap it up real quick. What is your favorite villain in gaming?
Favorite villain? Oh man, that's a rough one. Favorite villain? Wow. Huh.
For a man who loves darkness, you should know who the dark evil ones are.
There's a lot of them, but who?
Yeah.
Is
who
the
takes
one?
The cake?
Man. Oh, wow. That's tough.
If you get it wrong, we're all going to judge you.
I know. That's why I can't. Like, it's like, what do I do now? What do I do? Like, who is just the most ruthless, just like, that's just not fair individual? Huh.
I mean, it could be ruthless. It could be conniving, cunning, strategic. It could be an anti-hero.
Man, this puts me on the spot.
It does.
I don't really, I can't, my brain is just not going there. It's like, who was it? What have I played recently that I've been like? Because like old school stuff, I don't really feel like they were like that villainy. Like Liquid Snake, he's
pretty badass.
He was pretty badass
for Metal Gear 1. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like your twin brother who's genetically the same as you.
Right.
Yeah. Like that's a good mirror, a good villain.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a good one. But. You know, and you know, the corny answer would be, you know, not to call people corny, but you're corny if you said it. Sephiroth, he's not that great.
I knew that was going to happen.
That's why I said it. Like he's not that great. Don't even think. Don't.
No, he is because dude, he just came out for the new Smash Brothers.
No, okay, yeah, just, you know,
and he's so badass
with his one wing.
He's so badass. Like
yeah,
he is for me. Look, I mean, not the OG villain because I definitely played games that had villains before that. But Final Fantasy VII, like for a lot of us that are a similar age frame, that came out in your early to mid teens, where like it's the perfect time.
Right.
I mean, whatever you're into. I was actually going to. I don't remember what I was going to ask you. I was going to ask you where you were from and how you got into like heavy doom metal and metal. But like, I'm assuming you got into that stuff in like. There's this magic time from 10, 11 to 17, 18, where it's like where your taste is formed at like a fundamental level.
Right.
Like those are the things, those are your heroes, the bands that were everything to you, the artists, the games, the villains, the movies. That's like a magical time. And yes, there's if you stay creative, and I imagine you run into this too because you're a creative person. Like I can still geek out about new shit the same way I geeked out about it when I was like 11.
Right.
But it's not. It's like 90% the same. There's 10% off the top where, getting an N64 for Christmas at 13 years old, like there's just, that might be the pinnacle of life. And I already experienced it. I don't know.
Right. Yeah. Dang. But yeah, like it started early for me. Like I was making the same music I'm making now during that 10, 11 time frame. My grandfather had a Ensoniq SD1 keyboard, and I actually spent a lot of time just and at the time I had no idea what I was doing. It wasn't like I knew like, oh, this is experimental music. Yeah, it had a sound editor on there, synthesis, and I would make my own instruments, and everything I'd make sounded all dark, doomy, and that was awesome to me. Like I was like, oh, this is cool. It's like a horror movie, and I'd make all this noise. My grandmother would always yell at her like, "Stop making all that noise!" And I'm like, "But it's not noise. This is dope. What are you talking about?" Everybody else thought it was noise, but I thought it was cool.
You were,
that's
and it's
interesting. Like, you can see me now. I'm famous over it. But yeah, so it's always been that. And then so because I liked that so much, like I looked for that in music, and I think. For me, like music has always been soundtracks, whether it's video games or movies. And, being that majority of what I watch is, psychological horrors and, thrillers and things like that, really deep cerebral type stuff, the music fits. So I've just been saturated with that my whole life. And so that's just where it comes from. And so when it comes to like, typical music and stuff, you want to find stuff like that. So like I listen to a lot of metal. I listen to a lot of Tool. Tool is awesome because polyrhythms.
Big deal for me was Tool. Big
deal. That's where
definitely.
that's like Maynard's voice and polyrhythms are the things that like make Tool like it's perfect. There's nothing you can't tell me anything. Can't change my mind. And then also all the subsequent the bands. Outside of that, like, Pussifer and, Perfect Circle and all that, it's like, anything with Maynard in it works. But, 9 Inch Nails, Swallow the Sun for like Doom and stuff. Like, and the reason why is because it's like my music itself, it has to connect with me on an emotional level. Like I can't, if it doesn't like make me tear up a little bit or make me just like really feel it, then I'm like, oh, skip track. And if I have to skip track, then I might as well just not listen to it. So I'm very like particular when it comes to like my listening experience, So
what's a song that consistently what song gets you the most emotional?
Most emotional. I really like. There's a couple of them, but like when you listen to like Schism, you really think about like the story that's going along there, and then just the way the music plays out. Like if you really connect on that level, it's like, man, this is really deep. Like you have to like, there's multiple ways to look at what's happening there, and I think it's one of those songs that like connects with you whatever situation you're going through. It's like this goes along with me losing my job today, and now I'm really feeling it. Or I lost my girlfriend today. I'm really feeling it.
I thought the song was about a relationship, a breakup.
Yeah,
is that correct?
That's what it. Yeah. That's what I took from it. And so it's like it's everything that they make. Like lyrically, it's like it's real deal situations. You get a lot of stuff like in metal. Like I love Mastodon, and Mastodon stuff is like it's storytelling. There's a lot of stuff that's just like, fantasy storytelling.
It's more frivolous, kind of. It's less.
But like, you can tell with Tool, it's like, in anything that involves him, it's like, even in the Perfect Circles albums, they were always themed. Tool stuff is always themed. There's like, this surrounding theme to every track, and every track is telling this full story. And so, to say a specific song, it's tough. But to say those albums, Lateratus was great because that whole story. 13th Step was cool because it was like,
my favorite.
It's like drug addiction and rehab and things that are going on and why those things happen. Same thing with the first album. What was the first album?
Murder Numbs.
Yeah, Murder Numbs. That was cool. I think around that time, I think it was when I might be wrong, but if I remember correctly, that was around the same time Maynard lost his mother, and it was like that's the depth of that. It's like it's about loss and dealing with that loss, and there's a lot of like
that song
mad at God type stuff because this is what he does, but you're praising him and blah blah blah, and look what has happened. So it was like a lot of anger and frustration towards that situation, and so the songs were about that, and it's just really cool. I still and then the later albums were just more political. Like the Emotive was more political stuff, and then same kind of thing with Eat the Elephant. It's like it's still like about the times, being stuck in the digital screen and following the influencers, and so it's like I love when bands do that when there's a story. It's like a lot of music these days, people just make it and then they just. I'm going to write some words to it and then throw it out there because I'm just trying to make some money or, get my name out there. And it's like things like that resonate with me on another level because they're pouring out their heart to you. They're saying, hey, this is my life situation. So I wrote songs about it and now I'm telling you about it so that you can understand where I'm, it's a way to get those emotions out. And there's like an intimate relationship there because it's like you didn't have to share that with me in this capacity. You actually wrote a song about it, made music to it, and you belted that out to me. And so that's the kind of vibe I try to do with my music. Like I have a situation or a feeling and I want to do the same thing. I want to create music that says, hey, there's a story here, let me sit down and listen to this and figure out what that is. And even more so that it's it doesn't have lyrics, so it's like you have to really go, man, I have to really feel what's going on here because there's no actual lyrics that tell me what's going on here. So
speaking of music, for those who are interested in checking out your music, where and what would you recommend someone start with to check out your shit?
Start with is hard. Most of all the recent stuff is awesome. So if you start around the space between and work your way up, you're set. You're set to go. If you start with something like really, really new, a lot of the new stuff I'm kind of like, it's like a transition of experimenting with stuff. So it wasn't like, it's storytelling, but not like in the capacity of my storytelling. Like I think the recent album I did was based on Cthulhu mythos. So it's not as personal as like those top earlier albums.
Okay.
But yeah, that's one of my favorites is The Space Between, and that was literally like. As I took a lot of emotions from being in the current situation that we're in right now of like, what comes next, with this COVID thing and, being stuck at home and loss and things like that. So it's like the time in between from this point to this point, these are the feelings and emotions there. See, nobody knew that.
I will take a track off The Space Between and use it in the intro. I'll find the one that I like the most and put that in the intro. Where can people find you online, man?
I'm always on Instagram. I can't deal with like all of the multiple dealings of social media, so I stick to one platform. I'm on the other ones. You can find me on the other ones, but it's just basically getting like multicasted across them. But it's Instagram being posted everywhere else. But I'm on Instagram at it's BLKMTH. And then all my music is anywhere you can find music. So Spotify, Apple Music. I'm in Bandcamp. That's where there's actually more albums on Bandcamp because I hate the process of distributing music. Like it's so time consuming. So I take forever to put music on Spotify and Apple Music. So they'll be there eventually, but it's tedious. Yeah. I now see why a lot of people only put singles out because it's a lot of work.
Yeah, the single is the new currency,
right?
And if you're confused like I was, because your Instagram is no O in BLACKMOTH,
right?
But on the other places there is an O. So if you're trying to find him, if it's outside of Instagram, BLACKMOTH, moth with the O. Oh yeah, the last thing I wanted to ask you about, because we in our Instagram texting as I was trying to seduce you to come onto the podcast, which thank you so much for coming on.
Hey, no problem.
I legit appreciate it. I reach out to a lot of people and very few people say yes, so I appreciate it. Very legitimately appreciate it. I asked you if your name BLACKMOTH was related to Mothman prophecies, and you sent me a picture of the moth owl thing. Mothman. Speaking of we talked about superstition and horror stories that Mothman isn't like hillbillies killing you,
right?
But what gets me are those like movies that are based on true stories, and then you look into the history and the news around. Like, so I watched Mothman, and then I also watched this game called not game. Sorry, we've been talking about games. Movie Deliver Us from Evil with Eric Bana, and then both of those movies I watched them not knowing how much they were based on real shit. And then later I was like reading about it because I was like, oh, I want to read. I have questions, so I get on Reddit, right? I'm into the lore. Finish a movie. I got to get online and start like see what people are saying, the questions I have. I find out Mothman prophecy is like fucking real. And I'm like, what is happening? That movie that still creeps me out.
Right. Like they've built a whole entire like museum-y style town around Mothman in Virginia. It's like they're dead serious about that situation. It's real deal. And it's funny because like I look at the science of like cryptids and stuff like that. I'm like, what if they really are out there? Like there's it's like when people are like, this and this animal or this situation is extinct or this doesn't exist or that doesn't exist, and then like some dude's out fishing and then he finds a coelacanth. It's like, okay, so if that can happen, then why can't this happen? Maybe those things are out there. Maybe those things are still around. Maybe they're in such small numbers that you just don't see them. So it's really interesting. It's
if
cool.
anyone has not seen it or has seen it and didn't realize sort of where the inspiration from the movie came, I suggest get to your old Google or your DuckDuckGo, whatever your search engine is, and start typing in shit, and because it's gonna blow your mind.
Right.
And when I was just like Blakmoth, that's got to be related to Mothman somehow, because you're into dark shit, so it has to be.
It's like my favorite cryptid, man. He's awesome, and he's in Fallout 76, so that's where.
Oh yeah, it's true. Sweet dude. Well, I appreciate it. I'm gonna pee my pants again. Everyone can find you. It's been 2 hours. I'm trying to keep them at 2 hours. Right. By the way, anytime you put out a release and anytime you want to talk about games, just hit me up. You can come on anytime. There's only like 5. I mean, there's like 300 to 500 people that listen to my podcast. It's pretty small, but you might get a couple extra fans. Yeah. I'm always down to help you promo your music anytime you have a release or you want to talk about games. Just hit me up and we can do another episode.
Yeah, I would definitely do that. I will definitely do that. Plus, it's cool to have somebody to like chat about games with. Get my nerd out.
Yeah, It's what I wanted with the podcast was like I do talk to like gaming people who do gaming podcasts and collectors, but my original intention was to get creative. I've had so many producers on because I did the record label thing and I tried to make it as a producer for a decade, and I met a lot of dope people and have a lot of relationships. So my first like 25, 30 episodes are all music producers, right? Because everyone I knew from the decade doing music full time, like really going for it, was all into gaming for the most part too. Right. And so I just would bring them on, like, let's talk about games and connect over games. And then there's something about like, then this honestly the reason why I reached out to you is I could tell you were into games at the same, if not bigger level than I was. Like I just knew based on like, even though you don't talk a ton about games on your Instagram, but you mention things about composing. And I don't know exactly what signal set me off, but I was like, dude, this dude's a gamer. I need to message him. Like this dude's a gamer. I can tell.
There's a couple of game soundtrack reworks on my Instagram. I posted over the past couple months. So there should be a whole lot more actually coming up soon. I'm about to saturate my Instagram with that stuff.
But you could do like maybe you could just do a little preview and then have some like YouTube content where it's longer. Like,
that's what I'm going to do. I've been really looking into that. I was thinking about that the other day. I was like, it's probably better to do the longer content on Instagram or on YouTube and then have the preview content on Instagram. So it's like, hey, you want to see the full length, go there. Yeah. And that way, it's more of like a portfolio of like, hey, this is what I do,
Yep. So, and I could imagine like if you're pitching and if you're trying to break into working on games, it's like, want to see my work? Go to my YouTube channel. There's 15 soundtracks that I did to like games. You like my shit? Check it out.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I think not only would it work for someone like me who's a fan of what you do and wants to hear more soundtrack stuff, like as a consumer, like that would be great content for me as a fan.
Right.
But I also think it could double dip, like 2 for 1, as helping you get into the industry.
Right.
Because like it's cool to like send an email and be like, I make music, but give me an example. If a game you've worked on. Well, if you haven't worked on any games in an official capacity, maybe you have, I don't know. But let's say you haven't. I haven't worked on a game in an official capacity, but I redid the soundtrack for Silent Hill, this section of the game. You can check it out, see how it plays out on YouTube. I think that would be a 2 for 1 for you.
Yeah, absolutely right.
Not that I'm telling you what to do. I just think your shit is dope.
It's a good idea.
And I want you... Yeah. All right,
I'm
dude.
all about
I'm going to...
some insight. That's feedback is the best. So
it is real feedback given in good faith from a constructive place is good.
Yep.
The other feedback is you should just ignore it because it's bullshit.
Right.
All right, man. It's been awesome. Everyone have a good night. BLACKMOTH, check him out. Instagram is the main place you can find his music. Everywhere where you consume music, Apple, Spotify, yada, 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 yada. Doombient, ambient, dark shit. But you also have some beats, too, older in your discography. Yeah. So everything, if you, like I've talked about Lauren a lot on this podcast. If you like dark, ambient, cinematic, it's not club music. You're too old for that shit anyway. You don't go to the club anymore. Listen to BLACKMOTH. All right. Adios, everybody. Bye-bye. 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 Adios, everybody. Bye-bye.